about True to the Game 2, the book that is part 2 of the trilogy of True to the Game, written by Terry Woods. I talked very briefly about it over there, but I wanted to come over here on this platform, since this is where I'm going to be mostly talking about books at, to talk more in depth. So, with that being said, even though the book came out in like the early or mid 2000, or however you want to put it, 2008, 2007 time frame, for those of you who may not have read the book, I would highly suggest reading the book first before listening to this, because I will definitely be doing spoilers, I guess you could say. So if you have not read the book, you might want to go read it before you check out the rest of this video. So stop the video and get the book first, and then come back to the video and check it out. So anyway, you all, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but True to the Game, the film True to the Game, I believe was released in 2017, starring the film that was based off the first book, True to the Game, was released in 2017, starring Columbus Short, not Chris, because I keep wanting to say Christopher Columbus for some odd reason. Columbus Short and Erica Peebles, and a whole other list of actors who were really, really good, like Andrea Fuller, Nelson Ellis, who was in the long running series True Blood. Rest in peace to him. He did since pass away. Who else? Oh gosh, Vivica Fox was in there, as far as, you know, some more known actors or actress, and some other bunch of other people. I believe her name Nefessa Williams. I really, really like her. I've been following her a lot, especially in Black Lightning. So anyway, you got all these good actors and actresses that was in this film. From my understanding, the film was released in very limited theaters, so I'm not sure if it even, you know, if a lot of people were even aware, but I do know it had been on Netflix for a while, and like there's other internet or other streaming services that you can find it on, even possibly on YouTube, where you have to purchase it. So it's out there, but as far as it being released, I believe it was released in a very limited amount of fields. Let me tell you all who my favorite was in that film. Ooh, child, I'm gonna have to say, I never thought I'd look at Columbus Short that way, but he's a great actor. You can talk about Columbus Short all you want to, but what you cannot take away from that man is the fact that he is a great actor. And I know, you know, this brother, he done a lot, you know, and that's not excusing, trust me, it's not excusing him for what he has done, or, you know, the things that we've seen Columbus Short do, and the spouses he has chosen. Look, but he is a wonderful actor, and I really enjoy seeing him take on that role. I personally have never seen Columbus Short take on such a role like that, and to see him in that role, and then he had like no hair, like he really got into that character. But anyway, not just him, you got Andrea Fuller, who I thought did a great job playing the character Jarrell. Now, mind you, this was supposed to be based off the first book, but a lot of people said that the first book was very contrast to the film. So there were a lot of similarities, but there were also a lot of things that were not similar. There were characters added, characters taken away. So it's very interesting, you know. But I personally enjoyed the film, and if it was not honestly for the film, I wouldn't have even been aware of the book unless I would have ran across it eventually. But Andrea Fuller, he did a good job in playing Jarrell with his fine self. And this man that was like Jarrell's sidekick, I forgot the character's name, but I know the actor name is Stanley R. Atwater. To my understanding, he really was more so of a music executive. And so this opportunity, you know, it came along, or however it came along, and he jumped on it. All I know, child, is he's married, but he is fine as ever. Ooh, and this supposed to be like in Philadelphia, so like it's a lot of emphasis on Philly men. And I was like, ooh, okay, Philly men, you know. But anyway, getting back to the book. So that was True to the Game 1. And again, if you have not read True to the Game 1, you might want to check it out. There are other individuals who have done reviews on True to the Game, the first book. So definitely check out their reviews, and check out the reviews on the film. Again, I personally enjoyed the film. So this is strictly about True to the Game Part 2, the book. There has not been a release of a True to the Game film yet for Part 2. I'm really looking forward to seeing if they do so. I do know because Tyreik, the character Tyreik, who was played by Nelson Ellis, is a very important character moving forward from part one. And being that he has passed away, I'm not sure, what they'll do in regards to that. Again, the book is different from the film, so maybe they might not even have that character go on at all. But that would be, interesting to see how they go about, carrying on from there. But anyway, going back to the book, True to the Game Part 2. So if anyone remembers the previous book as well as the film, you see at the end of the film that Gina discovers the money that her now deceased boyfriend, fiance, Quadir Richards had basically hidden. She ends up finding it, and it's millions. We talking millions. So it's a nice amount of money. So that's how it pretty much ends with the film. The book might be slightly different. I don't really know for sure, but like I said, I jumped straight into the second book since I saw the film. But anyway, Gina starts off in the second book. She's riding, I don't know where she's going, but the book says so, but I forgot, but she's like riding around or whatever. And mind you, she's got this money. She's got to figure out where she's going to put it. It's millions, but she's noticing that she's having this black BMW following her. So throughout the book, part 2, there's this mystery black BMW following Gina around wherever she goes. And so in my mind, because I saw the film where the film leaves off with this black vehicle, if it's a BMW, I couldn't tell, but it was a vehicle at the end of the film. And there's like Quadir's necklace hanging in the vehicle, the one that we seen her admire towards the beginning of the film. So it's like, okay, is this Quadir or not? But the book, you just don't know. All you know is that there's this black BMW following her around. And considering how he was executed in the first book, it's like, okay, that can't be him. We know he's dead. So who the hell is this? But anyway, Gina is basically throughout this book just having this money with no plans. She got all this money but no plans. And just like some of us ladies out here who, like Gina, may not have grown up around money, and don't really know what to do with it, one of the first things we want to do is go out and take that money and make ourselves feel better by buying some nice things. You can imagine Gina being this young, beautiful young lady, and she grew up in in the quote unquote hood and never really had much, so and then on top of it, she's grieving the loss of so many, her best friend who got killed in the first book, as well as her boyfriend. She's going through this experience of loss. She doesn't have a mother. Her father is supposedly locked up in jail for whatever reason. So I can imagine her just having this big hole in her life. I don't know if that's exactly how Terry Woods was looking at it when she wrote this, but this is just my little analogy. I feel like she just had this big hole in her heart, and she was just looking to fill it, like she had nothing else to do. This is a young lady, again, with millions of dollars. She the way she even got it, I'm sure if she could, she would trade that money in for her man back. But since, she can't, and he's considered deceased at this point, I feel like it was just a hole in her. She didn't know what to do. And to make herself feel better, this is what she just thought to do. Just go out and start buying nice things just to make herself feel better. Because really, who was she impressing? She really didn't have many people around her. She already had lost her best friend. So it seemed like she just really took the money and just, really didn't have a plan for it. But anyway, upon the beginning of the book and her figuring out how to hide the money, she discovers that this BMW is following her. So she pulls into this gas station, and that is where she has her first encounter with the character Jarrell. Now, in the first film, Jarrell is the individual we see beefing with Quadir over territory, drug territory, or whatever the case may be, and wanted to work with Quadir. I'm not sure if that's how the first book went, but from my understanding from the second book, it seems as though he is the one responsible for killing Quadir. And even in the second book, it mentions that as well. He is responsible for that. But upon them meeting, it's very different from the film, because upon them meeting in this second book, it's like they're meeting for the first time. So he's not aware of who she is. She's not aware of who he is. All he sees is that she drives a Porsche. He just recently got out of prison. he's thirsty for some money, for some odd, oh, this, so now we're about to get into where I'm irritated with Jarrell. Like, first of all, Jarrell is, he's a cruel character anyway. Anyone familiar with his character would know he's a cruel person anyway. But damn it if they don't make him fine in the dang on film, and it's like, oh man, I can't forget he's a beast. I can't like this man. He's not right. But anyway, the book made me mad too, because the book made me kind of like Jarrell too. And that's terrible because he was terrible, and I'm getting to that. So anyway, it's like a damsel in distress thing. She ends up going to the gas station. He comes in. She tells him I don't know, he comes up to the counter or something. However it happens though, she ends up letting him know that she felt like she was being followed, and him trying to slither his way in like the snake that he is, pretending like he's trying to save her and have her best interest in mind. He goes outside and claims to have scared the BMW off, but really the BMW saw him and just drove off. Then he comes back in, and she's all grateful to him and thankful and like feeling protected. And in my opinion, she's being vulnerable and naive because of the fact that, again, she doesn't have a man around her to protect her that way. And she's lost Quadir, and she sees this man. He's looking good. He look like he got some things going for him. And then on top of it, he's showing you upon y'all first meeting that he'll protect you. Like, I can see how she could be that naive. I'm pretty sure I've had my moments in life as well. So anyway, he ends up, I guess, tailing her back to wherever to make sure she gets there safely. So from that moment moving forward, this is how these two characters began to get close. But little does he know, she is the former fiance of the man he killed, his rivalry. And little does she know, this is the reason you're basically talking to the man that is the reason why your man is no longer existent. So that's very interesting throughout the film. The black BMW appearing back and forth is very interesting throughout the film. It keeps that suspense going. It keeps you wondering who's driving the black BMW. Then it also keeps you wondering, when will Jarrell and Gina find out about the truth about each other? So moving on to Jarrell, okay? Because again, we got Gina. She's going back and forth to her grandmother's house. She's going out spending the money or whatever the case may be. But with Jarrell, while she's doing all this craziness with the money, Jarrell has hired a former girlfriend, flame of his, that he really has feelings for. And I guess the feelings for this particular female will never die. Let me just say what's interesting about that. Jarrell is cold and heartless. So the book really did a good job at showing some humanity within Jarrell with this girl. But even with this girl, you can tell Jarrell is a character that he's definitely criminal. He's definitely dangerous. But at the same time, it's like it's for myself personally, and I know this may seem crazy, there was a part of me that could see a little humanity in Jarrell, because there was a part of me that was like, he didn't been through some things. He didn't just wake up, being this cold and heartless, because clearly it's like he has this female that he's paying to tail Gina and figure out who Gina is, investigate Gina. And you can tell when he's at his most vulnerable with this female. He's struggling with these emotions that he has with her, and he knows whatever they had between them, it's like, I don't know if necessarily he screwed it up or she screwed it up, but it's like he's fighting with the fact that he knows they can never be anymore. But then at the same time, he's fighting with a feeling of wanting them to be again. And it's weird to see that from a character that's so cold, that's such a cold murderer, that's so heartless, that will sit up here and go after a woman, Gina, strictly for the purpose of money. He wasn't in love with Gina. He just wanted her money. So it's really weird to see that he was capable of feeling that way about a female when he was like, he would kill, like he even killed a female. So going into that, him killing this other female. So Jarrell had just got out of prison, mind you. I forgot what he got out of prison for. You have to read the book, but he had just got out of prison, and his goal, aside from going after Gina for money and figuring out who she was and how he can get the money from her, where she getting the money from and things like that, because he could tell clearly that she had money. She was driving a Porsche. She had, at one point, she had on jewelry that was hell of expensive. So he knew she had money more than he had. And he wanted to know where she got it from and how he can get it, basically. So aside from that being part of his mission, another side of his mission was him going out after all the individuals that were in his clique. I don't know if this is a drug gang clique, whatever they doing out there in them streets, but all the members that were in his clique, his goal was to go after each one of those so-called brothers of his who all were working with him, I guess, prior to him getting released. And I guess he had given out money to each of these individuals, if not money, then also product to each of these individuals to sell, and told them to hold his money. So not only did these individuals, some of these individuals spend the money, but some of them sold the product, and none of them ever visited him in jail, as well as none of them ever put money on his books or gave to his family, because that was all his complaints when he visited each of these individuals in regards to where is his money. Many of those individuals he visited had no money for him, and they did not have the product that they were to sell for him. They had no excuse for not coming to visit him. They had nothing. So with that in return, Jarrell pretty much felt betrayed, and his only solution to that betrayal was to kill them. Some of them actually seemed like they knew that was coming, and they were prepared to try to kill him first, which made matters even worse because he had already figured it out, and that was just the end for them. Upon that, one of them had a female actually at the house. Jarrell had no problem with executing her right after he got what he wanted out of her physically, which I'm not even about to go into because that was hella cruel what he did. I mean, Jarrell was just, like I said, he's very heartless, but it's interesting that Terry Woods was able to show that human side of him off of this other female. Like, I thought that was very interesting. Like, he's so cold and heartless, yet there's a place in his heart for this woman that he hired to tell Gina to follow Gina. And there was even a point where he said he would rob Gina for all of her money and take this other woman with him somewhere away with the money. Like, he really had this spot in him for her. And again, I just felt like it was just weird because he was just so cold and heartless. And there was not a part of me that empathized with him at all or sympathized for him at all, because he was a cold, heartless murderer. Like, it was no part. But the look, the scenes with him and Gina, okay, the intimate scenes, now that had me like, okay, Jarrell, no. But you still a murderer though. So anyway, that was Jarrell's mission. So he's basically bumping off all of these members of his clique, of his drug territory, or whatever the case may be, that were supposed to be his brothers, his allies. He's here bumping them all off, killing them all. There was one in particular that he did come up against that told him, like, look, I got all your money. And the reason why I'm the one that told everybody not to come visit you and not to put money on your books, because how would that have looked? We would have not only implicated you, but we would have implicated ourselves. So I'm the one that, did this, that, and third. But listen, I got your money. I never touched your money. And Jarrell, in that moment, Jarrell knew that this individual was truly loyal, but it's like he talked himself out of wanting to let this individual go. I think at that point he figured, well, hell, he got this grudge in his heart. He'd already killed this many people. This person, why should this person be any different? Plus, this person know that he was the one that, been killing all of their people. So if he knew if he would have let that person walk, then that could mean that eventually some individuals will come back to him and kill him anyway. So he just figured, I'll just go ahead and take him out. It's me or him. And he did. He ended up killing that person too. And that really was sad though, because that individual had, diabetes. And again, he seemed like the most honest one out of all the ones that Jarrell approached. He seemed like the most honest one. And not to mention, he had Jarrell's money. So it's not like he sold, he wasn't like the others and took Jarrell's money and spent it. He had the money waiting on him. So it's like, damn, Jarrell, what you kill him for? Like, like Jarrell just made me sick throughout this whole damn book. He made me hella sick. But when I think about the character that plays him in True to the Game, woo! Anyway, so we got Gina, we got Jarrell, we got the mysterious black BMW. Also in the book, again, this is True to the Game Part 2. We have the officers. So we have Lieutenant Ratzinger. Look, I don't care if I'm getting this wrong or not. I pronounce it as Ratzinger. I don't know how to pronounce it. Basically, he is the lieutenant in charge of the operation to go up against Quadir Richards and drug territory. So like all the individuals who are out there selling in that territory that was Quadir Richards, with Tyreik, the best friend, who again was played by Nelson Ellis in the book, in the movie. He's like at the top. So they got like basically the the officers or the detectives and lieutenants, whatever, they are all looking at this board with all the criminals that they're looking to get in this drug territory. And Quadir is at the top, but I think they got like an X on him because he's supposed to be deceased. Then you have Tyreik underneath that. So Tyreik is like the next man, the next in command, I guess, and that's who they want to take down, him and the many others. Well, Lieutenant Ratzinger and his peoples, including a whole bunch of funky detectives and whatnot, I ain't even gonna get specific with their names, but they end up busting some individuals who work in that territory. Ray San, who also you see in the film. I don't know if the film stayed true to the character, but whatever, we're gonna go with it anyway. We have Ray San and another brother by the name of Reds. Both of them end up getting busted, but while Reds did not crack under interrogation, unfortunately Ray San did. The officers made a deal with him because they basically said, if you don't give up, the rest of the crew, if you don't snitch on them, if you don't do what we tell you to do to set them up, then we're going to take down not only you, but we're going to take down your mother, and we're going to take your mother's house. So I think that's where the soft spot came in for Ray San. It was like, okay, them or my mother, like that's my mother. And to be honest, I'm just curious, like how many of y'all, if you all were in a situation, I know some of y'all probably like me, like I ain't about to find myself in this situation. So I'm not going to answer that. Like how many of y'all would have honestly either stayed silent or giving up your mother? Like it's one or the other. But the best thing to do is to never find yourself in this kind of situation, because this character right here, I really, really felt for. I don't care what nobody say, like saying, oh, you snitch, you snitch, you snitch. This was a situation where this man had to either implicate his mother or the opposite side. I felt so bad for him, and I was like, you know what, you're dumb. You should have never got yourself in this situation, because either way it go, you're screwed. If you don't say anything, then there goes your mother. She goes down. If you do say something, there could still go your mother, because they could take your mother out for snitching too. Like they ain't gonna take you out, they can take your mother out too. So I felt really, really bad for that character. It was just like, oh, it was terrible. And the things they had, the officers, the detectives had Ray San do, you would have thought he would have got killed by the individuals he was doing it to, because he always had a recorder or a recording device on him, so that they were able to implicate many other drug dealers in the territory, including Miss Suge. Now Miss Suge was played by a younger, in the book it seems like Miss Suge is a real older woman. I can imagine Miss Suge being like in her 70s or something. But in the film, Miss Suge is played clearly by a young Vivica Fox. So it's just interesting that it's a contrast. But either way it go, Miss Suge is like the woman in the neighborhood, the mother or the elderly woman in the neighborhood who cooks up the drugs for the individuals, and she's been doing this for years. Unfortunately, when Ray San was recorded, taped up, or whatever you call it, he implicated Miss Suge as well as the other drug dealers that were in the home where Miss Suge was cooking up the drugs or whatever. So when the lieutenants and stuff all came in their raid, they raided Miss Suge's house as well. And the drug dealers, all of them got caught, basically, including Ray San. They had to, pretend like Ray San was a part of it or whatever the case may be. So they got them all arrested. And Miss Suge, I think that was like the last we heard about Miss Suge in the book. Like basically she got arrested. So that's pretty much how that went. And again, just seeing how Ray San had to go through all of that, it was just terrible. And you would think Ray San was done. Oh no, Ray San was not done. Ray San was not done. The officers were not done with Ray San. You would thought he had done enough snitching. Apparently not to the officers. Like once their bitch, always their bitch, because he was still their bitch even after that. Like they came up to him still using that, oh, if you want your mother to go free, we need you to do one more thing. Isn't there always just one more thing? Like, oh my gosh. So that one more thing was now to figure out information on Gina. So here's the thing. The officers ended up getting together, Lieutenant Ratzinger and the detectives who were all involved in this big bust. They got together to celebrate. And when they got together to celebrate, they decided to conspire to take the money of the drug dealers. And the one person that they were aware had a lot of money was Quadir Richards. But they also put two and two together that Quadir Richards and Gina Rollins were together. And they wanted to figure out if Gina not only had the money, but if so, how they were going to get it from her, because see, they decided, being the snakes of authority that they are, they decided they did not want to see that kind of money on drug dealers. Why should they have it? Oh no, because they're hardworking officers, they want the money. So they actually ended up conspiring to take the money themselves, like illegally. Like they conspired to leave the department out of their independent investigation. So they decided they wanted that money, but they had to figure out how they could get it. Like who, if they had to figure out if Gina had it or Quadir Richards' mother had it, and they needed Ray Sign to assist them with doing that. So that whole thing was crazy. In the end, it actually ended up getting Ray Sign killed. If you want to know how, you got to check out the book. But let me just say, it involved the black BMW, and that made me wonder, like, okay, here goes this damn black BMW again. And not only that, this black BMW pulls up and kills Ray Sign. So it's like, okay, who has a motive to kill Ray Sign other than, you know, the drug? Actually, everybody in the damn book probably got a motive to kill the snitch. But anyway, so moving on, we got the crooked police, we got Ray Sign the snitch, we got Jarrell the gangster murdering fine ass dude, we got Gina the main character, and we got this damn mysterious black BMW. So then we have Guy Get. Guy Get is Gina's grandmother. We see the character Guy Get in the film. From what I saw in someone's review, the biggest issue they had, well, maybe not even the issue, the biggest thing that they talked about when it came to Guy Get in the film versus the book is that in the book, Guy Get is more of a gangster. Guy Get name, as a matter of fact, is supposed to be because of the fact that she would always get hers. Like she always got to have hers off the top of anybody else's. But the films made it seem like her name was Guy Get because when she was younger or something like that, she always used to tell the kids, like, I gotta go get that, gotta go get that. So they just started calling her Guy Get. Look, I don't know, I didn't read the first book, but anyway, the point is, Gina at this point was still technically living with her grandmother Guy Get, but there was some things happening, some things being said, and at one point, there's Guy Get in the house. There is like 3 cousins of Gina, I think, in the house as well. And at one point, the 2 female cousins who are like teens, who are smelling themselves, basically, one of them said something to Gina about that's why your father killed your mother. And see, this is news to Gina because Gina has been under the depression. Thanks to family, she's been under the impression that her mother died by some natural causes or whatever the case may be, and the father was in prison for some other reason. So she never knew that her father actually killed her mother. And to make things even more confusing, from what I'm getting from the book, it's a possibility that the man that's in jail, Malcolm, isn't even her damn father. So that's again another character, but also another confusion. The way the book describes it, the father bust into his house one day, or his room, whatever. He came into the house to discover his woman, who's Gina's mother, sleeping with Gina's uncle, and he shot the uncle and I believe paralyzed the uncle, but he ended up strangling the mother and killing her. So, but now it's being said in the book that it's a possibility that Malcolm isn't even the father. Yeah, so, and Gina's uncle Michael ends up showing up later on at Guy Get's house. So that's kind of a cliffhanger. Like I can't wait to learn more about that. And there was no really going any further with that. Like that's as much information as they provided on that. So I am very curious to know. But either way it goes, this information, the little bit of information that she did get, as far as hearing her cousin say, well, that's why your father killed your mother, caused Gina to leave the house. So for like the remainder of the book, she really was not at home with Guy Get, and Guy Get was like really worried sick, and she was like, it's just time to tell her the truth. But the truth, whatever the truth is, it does not come out in book number 2. However, so we got Guy Get, we got information about Gina's mom, we got information about her dad, supposedly, that's in jail, and then the uncle shows up, but we don't know why he shows up because the book does not go into detail. So then we have Tyreik. Now, mind you, Tyreik is right under Quadir Richards when it comes to their infrastructure and who's next in line. He ends up getting busted when Ray Sign does this big snitch, big working with the detectives or whatever, and they all go down, where he's one of the individuals that went down as well. Gina actually went to visit him and found out what his bond was, and she attempted to volunteer to pay his bond. However, because they were on a recorded line and he did not want her to be implicated, he just denied it. But he was very curious as to wondering why, she she was able to offer the kind of money he needed to be bonded. And I forgot how much the money was, but it was not a little bit. And upon leaving out that visitation at the jail, she realized too that she made a big mistake, because she had opened her mouth. And I don't know if that's how she felt like. I know the book says she realized that she had made a mistake. But in my mind, I wonder if her feeling like that was not because they're on a recorded line and that the guards and, the law enforcement there could hear them, but more so because she knew she had now just revealed to the first person. I don't think she's told anybody that she has that money. So she had now revealed to like the first person that, basically she's got money, and they're going to want to know how, because everyone knew Quadir had money. The question is, where did it go? And I'm wondering if some people just felt like the mother had it, and if Gina has it, they're going to comfort Gina. But if the mother has it, well, it's more so, okay, well, that's the mother. It's weird because no one like wants to go after the mother if she has it. It's more so, oh, we're going to go after Gina. She shouldn't have it anyway. She was just a fiance. Like, it's just the weirdest thing. And to be honest, when Tyreik got out and he realized he was broke, one of the first things he was like was, he had to hit a lick. And they kind of left it like that. Terry Woods, she pretty much left it like that in the book. Like he felt like he needed to hit a lick. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh gosh, he gonna remember that Gina tried to bail him out, and that she possibly has Quadir's money, and she's gonna be that lick that he's gonna hit. So I am very curious for book number 3 to see if they go revisit that. Like, are they gonna go back into that look, y'all? I'm like, damn, Gina, you just got a target on your back. This is just terrible. You lose your man, you lost your best friend, you ain't got no mama, no daddy. This is just not good, people. Anyway, with that, so Raysan getting out, the reason why Raysan and all the other ones that got busted in this raid were able to be released. Look, read the book. I don't even want to explain this part. This part is like, this is where the fiction come in, okay? Because the way it happened, and not to say that the way it happens could not happen in real life, but it's just too damn convenient that it ended up being some goof up at the department when it came to the evidence. You would have to read the book to fully understand. I would have to read it 3 or 4, 5 times to really comprehend what happened. But whatever happened, you talking about everybody as far as the detectives, because a big meeting was called with all the agents who were all involved in the raid and the bust. Everybody was upset. Everybody was blaming the other department. I mean, it was just bananas as far as how the situation happened, where they literally had to release everyone. I was like, how convenient. How convenient. So Raysan snitching didn't do a damn thing. Not to mention, they were like, okay, what about our witness? Well, obviously Raysan was killed. So there goes their informant who could have backed up the information. And not to mention the evidence had been unfortunately destroyed. So all of those individuals that were busted, that were like part of Quadir Richards' territory, were all now released. And if Raysan had not been killed by the black BMW, I'm pretty sure if individuals found out he had snitched, he would have been killed eventually. Anyway, moving forward, towards the end, Jarrell ends up, through his girlfriend or not ex-girlfriend or whoever this woman is that he's madly in love with, in my opinion, he ends up learning out that Gina is indeed Quadir's woman, and that she possibly has his money, and he wanted that money. So basically he tries to set up Gina. But at this point, what he doesn't know is that Gina is actually pregnant by him. And Gina took some of that money, besides buying this really expensive vehicle and the other things that she bought in this book. She went and bought an apartment. And I believe she bought that apartment not only with that baby in mind that her and Jarrell was going to be having. Oh, yes, they were messing around like that, y'all. They were messing around like that. Let the book tell it, okay? Feel free to read those scenes because, woo, child, you talking about some... That's why I said Jarrell, I do not like him. But when it came to them scenes with him and Gina, I was like, damn, Jarrell is like that. But anyway, let me not get sidetracked, because see, that's how stuff happens. That's how stuff happens. Anyway, she does unfortunately get pregnant. Like, Gina, you was moving like that. Like, I understand your boo done died and stuff, but damn, like you moving like that. But Gina, in my opinion, was stupid, naive, and she just, very hella vulnerable. I think she was just looking for love really in all the wrong places, and she clearly found it in all the wrong places. And unfortunately for her, she had this idea, in my opinion, when she bought this home, that her and Jarrell and this baby was going to be one big happy family. But what she didn't know was that Jarrell was not only the man that killed her man, but was also going to be the man that was about to kill her and her baby. So she never got a chance to tell Jarrell about the baby. Towards the end, what happens is, again, if you have not read the book, you probably want to stop right here. So anyway, what happens is her and Jarrell end up at this motel together, which she didn't understand because they had been spending so much time at his place. She didn't understand why they had to go to a motel. So that is warning, like, you know, red flag number one. So they end up at this motel together and they have an intimate encounter. And in her mind, she's like, she's going to tell him about the baby. But in his mind, he's like, dang, I'm about to get it in one last time because I know I got to waste her and I'm getting her money. Well, they do have their last encounter together to the point where it puts him to sleep before she could tell him the truth. She gets up and goes to the bathroom where she sees all the items necessary that he has purchased from a store in order to basically get a body, bag a body, and dispose of that body. So she puts two and two together. By the time she gets ready to try to run out the place, he's woken up. They end up into a physical altercation where he's whooping her ass and she's fighting back though. She's holding her own. But at the same time, you know, he's a man and he's getting like the upper hand. Next thing you know, some mystery man ends up coming in the door and Jarrell looks at the mystery man and goes, I killed you. And this can't be. Next thing you know, mystery man goes bop, 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 and lights up Jarrell, scoops up Gina, walks out the door. The end. So you guys, when I tell you all, I already have book number 3 and I am very excited to get to it. I will definitely be back on here with information about that one. But book number 2 has blown me away. I really, really loved it. Again, we're talking about books that came out in 2008, 2007. This book is like, this trilogy is over 10 years old. And I'm so grateful for the film True to the Game, because if it had not been for the film, I don't know if I would have been exposed to the book, or at least not this, soon, even though we're talking 10 years later. I love the book. I love the book. I thought I loved the movie, and I do, because I watch it over and over again. But I really love the book a lot. And yeah, it's bananas. It's crazy. It's like, damn, Gina, you naive, you stupid. At the same time, it's a part of me as a female who grew up around certain things similar to what Gina is growing up or has grown up around and still is around. I slightly empathize with Gina, as well as I could see myself in her situation. Not that I would want to be, but I definitely could see, how that could happen and be in that situation. And again, I would not want to be. So with that, I'm able to read, this book and be in this character's shoes without actually having to live in this character's shoes. So I think that's a good thing about fiction. You're able to get into an environment, into a world that you would a part of you would be, not necessarily even want to be in, but just get away in. You get to escape in this environment without actually having to live in it. So anytime you close that book, you're out of that environment. When you open that book, you're back in it. And I know sometimes in life, there are moments where I wish it was like a book. Like I'm in a certain situation. I'm like, damn, can I close the book and just be out this situation? But I can't. But at least when I'm reading the story, I can be in that moment while reading that book. If the author, is a really good author, such as Tyreik Woods is, and can put me there, place me there in that situation. And just like with Jarrell, I wouldn't want nobody like Jarrell. But I'm telling you, them scenes with Gina, I'm able to open that book, put myself right there. Then I'm like, oh, damn, Jarrell killing again. Oh, time to get out this scene. I don't want to be in this scene. So again, I will be back with, I wouldn't call it a review. I don't know what to call it when it comes to me talking about these books. I guess a discussion. So I will be back with a discussion on True to the Game 3 real soon. Once I get a chance to finish it, I have so many books that I'm reading and will come on here about. So there's probably going to be a moment before I get to that one. But again, definitely check it out. If you all have not checked out True to the Game film, check it out. The first book, the second book, and get yourself to the third book, because I will be back to talk about it. Okay.